Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to talk about the Leiftech V2. So if you don't know already, the Leiftech started as a Kickstarter. It is kind of an electric skateboard. The only difference is it has these powered caster wheels on the bottom. And the idea is that you can do slides and spins almost as if you're snowboarding. Now the Leiftech is now called Summerboard, and it started out as a Kickstarter, and it just hasn't really caught on in the e-skate community. So I wanted to get one for myself, try it out, see if I like it, and report back on what my findings are. So from what I've seen online, there are a lot of promo videos put out by the company that look really fun, but there's not a huge amount of community feedback on how good this product is. And when I have seen feedback, the theme is the build quality isn't great, there's a lot of maintenance involved, but it's really fun to ride. The issue is I never found any more detailed information than that. So in this video, I wanted to take a more detailed look into the Leiftech in terms of build quality, maintenance, reliability, and try and point out some more detailed items as I go through and help you guys to have a better understanding of why people say that the build quality isn't that great on this product. I want to start out with the battery. Now the Leiftech comes with a removable battery, which is good for doing battery swaps so you don't have to wait for it to recharge. But this battery is pretty unique. It kind of feels like a home-built battery that somebody might make for their custom electric skateboard. You're using standard XT60 RC connectors. They were heat shrunk to the battery, and you'll notice there's two of them. And that's because the cells are arranged into two packs. There are two separate BMS modules on these sets of cells. And let me show you the charger. Here's the power brick for the charger, and it actually has two leads coming off for the XT60 connectors. So the battery is literally charging on two halves. When you plug the battery into the board, you have to plug both leads into the board. And from what I've heard, they share the same ground. Okay, so we need to talk about how to install the battery in the Leiftech because it is not a good process. So the first thing you do is remove the battery door with these plastic clips, and it pops out. Now this tray, I think, is going to crack fairly easily. This clip right here, it appears to be reinforced somewhat, but I think it's going to break eventually. And the tray itself is just a little bit too big. So when you place the tabs into the board and you try and press down on the left-hand side, it will not click into place. So what you have to do is lift up the board and flex the deck and fight to get the door to clip into place. And I'll probably end up sanding the door down so that it fits correctly. So once you have the door off, you're met with some Velcro straps and the connectors for power. And all of these wires and straps like to fall into the tray, which is in the way while you're trying to put the battery in place. So what you have to do is use one hand and push all the straps and wires out of the way, and maybe use the battery to help. And eventually, the battery falls into place. And then the next thing you have to do is strap the battery down, and then you connect one wire and tuck it in there and out of the way. and then the other wire tucked in and out of the way. And then you can replace the battery tray. Which is easier said than done. Now the problem with this entire process is that the board turns on when the battery is plugged in. So to truly turn the board off, you have to remove the battery after each use. So you have to try and pry it, and these Velcro straps are coming back together, but you have to try and pry it up and out of the deck without damaging any of the power connectors. And then unplug one side, unplug the other side, and then you're done. Now next I want to talk about the bindings of this board, which are similar to snowboard bindings. So these bindings are made up of two halves. There is the hard plastic top half, which is what is actually touching your feet, and then there's a metal bracket that forms the bottom half, and that bolts to the deck through slots in the deck. And there is a lot of adjustability here, but the problem is the adjustability is done using very small screws. Now the screws going through the slots in the deck have a lock nut on the bottom with a small washer. And what I've noticed is that when you tighten the bindings down to the deck, the small washer is not enough to distribute the force against the deck, and it's going to leave marks on the deck and potentially damage the carbon fiber underneath. The other problem with this setup is I think that Leiftech coated the metal brackets with black paint after forming the threads. So what that means is the finished black coat is inside of the threads, and it's very hard to get these screws threaded into the metal bracket. If you have a tap set for the right metric hardware that's on this board, then you'll probably be okay to clean up the threads. But for most people who are just getting this board and trying to start out for a first ride, they have to have a metric Allen wrench set because not all the bolts are the same size, and it's really hard to get the bolts threaded in to the bracket when you're getting set up. Next, I want to talk about the remote. So this is a pretty standard Eastgate remote. You've got a trigger that's a dead man switch, and then the scroll wheel style spring-loaded speed control. And when you roll back on the speed control, it applies braking, and when you roll forward, it applies throttle. My biggest issue with this remote is the safety trigger. The way that this remote was manufactured is very cheap, and it will stick. And when this trigger sticks, the motors will remain active and the board will continue to roll rather than coming to a stop. It's not necessarily a safety concern, but it makes me nervous while I'm using this board. Next, I want to talk about the drive units that are on the bottom of the board. So these drive units are similar to a belt drive on a standard electric skateboard. You have a outrunner brushless motor that is driving a timing belt. There is no cover on the timing belt to protect it, and it drives the middle drive wheel. Now this entire assembly rotates on what seems to be a fairly durable platform. I've never heard of people having issues with the durability of the drive wheels or the rotating platform itself. It seems to be a well-built platform, and I haven't heard of too many people having major issues with the belts wearing out or breaking but I have heard that it does take a while to replace belts or the drive wheels for maintenance. So I would say that owning a set of metric wrenches and metric Allen keys is definitely going to be a requirement when owning this board. I don't think the maintenance of these assemblies will be necessarily difficult, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to have to do a whole lot of maintenance, then this is probably not the board for you. So overall, my impression of this board is that it feels like a Gen 1 Kickstarter project, which it kind of is. So I don't think that any of the items that I've covered in this video are deal breakers in of themselves, but added up, they result in a board that I don't think has a great build quality. And now the question becomes, is that trade-off in build quality worth how it rides and how much fun it is? So in my next video, I'm gonna go into how to ride a Leiftech. Is it fun? And hopefully I'll be able to help you make the decision for yourself as to whether or not the build quality of this board is worth it. Now, the company that makes this board does have a new product out on the market. It's called a summer board. It is much more expensive to buy a summer board new than it is to buy a Leiftech used. Now, I've read that the summer board does not have as many build quality issues as the Leiftech does, so that might be a better way to go. I still wanted to give a review of this board in 2020 and see if it still holds up in the world of boosted and one wheel and these other products that have much better build quality and we know will last for hundreds and thousands of miles. So in my next video, I will tell you guys more about what it's like to ride a Leiftech and give some tips for beginning riders on how to get going, and hopefully try and give you an impression of what this thing is like to ride. So until then, let me know what you guys think. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any other questions on build quality, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, peace.